Is a 13 weather impact alert. This is a 13 weather impact alert.
Good Tuesday evening, West Michigan. Everyone that is watching this live stream or will about to, I'm meteorologist Blake Hansen. It's about 9:05 here in the evening on this Tuesday, and our focus turns to tomorrow. There will be a wide range of weather ongoing here at home as tomorrow goes on. We'll start the day with some winter impacts. We'll transition over to some spring showers and thunderstorms, and then that thunderstorm potential could potentially become severe as we get to the end of the day tomorrow. So everything but the kitchen sink is kind of the way I've been saying it today. That's our possibility tomorrow in the way of weather. We want to go back to Sunday. Sunday we had a round of severe weather here at home and really across much of the state. In fact, a lot of the survey crews from the National Weather Service, the respective offices in Grand Rapids, in Detroit, and in northern Indiana, I think for the most part, have finished their surveys for Sunday's severe weather event. We saw a lot in the way of straight line winds, but in those straight line winds, we also had a few embedded tornadoes, some spin-up tornadoes. In fact, it seems like the final count now from Sunday's storms, 9 separate tornadoes across the state of Michigan Sunday alone, which is pretty remarkable, thinking that on average here in the state of Michigan, we average 16 tornadoes in a given year. So we got 9 alone on Sunday for the final day of March. So, or at least the 30th of March, I should say. So the second to last day of March. Pretty impressive here. You know, going around, there was one in Cass County down here in the Edwardsburg area. That was an EF1 tornado. Yeah, a lot of text on your screen, but that was an EF1 tornado. That was on the ground for about 2.1 miles. There was the one in Gaines Township, just to the west of Caledonia, in the Cutlerville area for the most part. EF0 tornado. We had one up in the Croton area, that's Newaygo County, southern Newaygo County. That's was an EF0. That also caused some power transmitters to be quite damaged. And then going a little bit farther to the east now, we had 2 in Ionia County, one in Granton, that general area in western Ionia County, that was an EF0, and then also one in the northeast half of the county in the Muir area. That was an EF0 tornado. Then we go to the east, and this is a little bit outside of West Michigan's area, but we had one in Shiawassee County. That's just to the west of Flint, the county over from Flint. In the Henderson area, that was an EF1. 2 in Ingham County, the county where Lansing is located. 1 in Williamston, and then also 1 in the Leslie area, which is kind of more on the Ingham County, Jackson County border, and then 1 down in Monroe County, the southeast corner of the state in the Milan area. That was an EF0. So 9 separate tornadoes Sunday alone from the severe weather that pulled through. So pretty impressive. In terms of what we usually see in a given year, again, is around 16 tornadoes. All right, let's get into tomorrow. And we got a long day ahead of us tomorrow. Is there any way we could do some split boxes, by the way, in the back? Just want to see if we can get that. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. We got a pretty long day tomorrow, just because we have just that wide range of weather. This is kind of our timeline, and this is just for Wednesday itself. So Wednesday, and I guess you can kind of include the early hours of Thursday here. Starting at midnight tonight, coming hours, through, we'll say, mid to late morning, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. That's going to be the bulk of our winter possibility of tomorrow's weather, especially north of I-96, where there will be a wintry mix. South of I-96, mostly just some cold rain. Temperatures will be just warm enough for rain to be the precipitation type. We'll get into temperatures in a little bit, but midday hours into the afternoon, so now we're getting to the second box here. This is now between 11 in the morning tomorrow and about 4 in the afternoon. We'll probably hold on to a few scattered showers, maybe even some thunderstorms tomorrow, but likely not severe. We won't have enough instability, enough warmth yet in the midday to afternoon hours tomorrow. Many of us actually will still be quite chilly tomorrow in the early afternoon. It is this time frame, 4 to 11 tomorrow in the afternoon into the evening. That is the best opportunity for us to have scattered thunderstorms around and that possibility of severe thunderstorms, which will be likeliest south of I-96 to the state line. Once we get to around midnight, by the way, thanks guys in the back for that. Once we get towards midnight, well, I have it as 11 o'clock, but really towards midnight into Thursday morning, this all comes to an end, and actually we'll have a pretty quiet Thursday and Friday across the board. So kind of some wide time ranges here, but that's kind of the gist of what we're expecting tomorrow as it goes on. So this is the big picture right now. And again, it's about 9, 10-ish or so here on this Tuesday evening. You can see that we have a swath of rain and snow coming our way. Let's get back to it here. There we go. So we have this rain, snow swath, a lot of this switching over to snow actually right now in parts of Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, back into Minnesota. This is all coming off of this warm front. You got a lot of moisture streaming in from the south. If I actually turn on the wind particles here, you can kind of see, notice that these winds are really coming in from the south, even the south and east. That's affecting some of that moisture up into the upper Midwest and allowing this broad swath of snow to take hold here just to our west now. What's going to happen in due time, this warm front will eventually surge its way just to our south by midday tomorrow. And the big question mark is how far north will that warm front get into West Michigan before this cold front sweeps by late tomorrow evening into tomorrow night. Obviously, with a warm cold front scenario, you got some battling air masses here. And this is kind of a sampling of what we're looking at temperature-wise tomorrow. And you can see that north of I-96, and this is when we're expecting precipitation to roll through, is just shortly before daybreak, at least anything widespread. Still holding on to 32 in Grand Rapids, Ionia down to 30 in Big Rapids. But notice the farther south you get of Grand Rapids, and especially we'll say Grand Rapids in Holland, numbers are in the upper 30s at 6, 7 in the morning tomorrow. That's why the farther south you get tomorrow morning of I-96, likely going to be mostly in the way of rain. You know, we keep going in time here. Here's 10 o'clock in the morning, and you can see that Big Rapids still at 31 degrees, but notice a large chunk of West Michigan now, Grand Rapids, Muskegon, Holland, and especially southward, now above that freezing mark and into around 40 degrees. Once we get into the afternoon, you can kind of see this warm front really surging northward. Look at the difference that we might have here at 2 o'clock tomorrow. 51 at Kalamazoo, still 33 at Big Rapids. And then look what happens as the afternoon goes on. This is 4 o'clock now. Look at the difference. Kalamazoo, South Haven, middle 60s. Big Rapids still just a few degrees above freezing. That's a 30-degree difference there alone. And it does look like that warm front tries to inch its way as far north as maybe M46 or so, at least I-96. But look at some of this warmth this particular model is trying to bring in here tomorrow evening. And that's where we're really going to be focusing our forecast in terms of severe weather tomorrow evening, if we can get this warmth in here. We get this instability push. I'll show more of this in a minute. But again, in the morning tomorrow, we're just going to deal with a wintry mix for some, and then widespread soaking rain, maybe a few rumbles of thunder late tonight into tomorrow morning. The biggest impact for winter weather will be north of I-96 and especially towards M46, US 10, our northern communities. That's where a couple inches of ice is, or a couple inches of snow, I should say, is doable, and maybe upwards of 1/10 of an inch of ice. Now, this will nowhere be close to what those in northern Michigan just dealt with over the weekend, that devastating ice storm. Some of the ice reports up there in the way of freezing rain was over an inch, just stuff that is catastrophic. in terms of ice accretion. But a tenth of an inch of ice still can do some issues, do some impacts here, especially from a travel standpoint. Maybe just enough if we hold on to that ice long enough for a few power outages. But you can see where the National Weather Service, they're honing in on where the winter impacts will be, mostly to the north of Muskegon, Kent, Ionia County. So we're talking Oceana, Newaygo, Montcalm, Mecosta, Lake, Mason County, our northern half of the area. That's where the cold air will last the longest, temperatures near that freezing mark, and then where we could see that longer duration of a wintry mix. So notice in time tonight, as we get through, we'll say 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, we're going to stop the clock here at 6 in the morning. You can see this shade of pink here. This is the wintry mix that will be developing. And as the morning goes on, I'm going to stop it here. Notice how the wintry mix definitely lasts the longest as you get towards northern Newaygo County, into the Big Rapids area, Mecosta County, and then along US 10. While many of us by 8, 9 o'clock in the morning are just contending with a cold, heavy rain, nothing that's freezing on contact. Eventually, in due time, once we get to midnight, or midnight, I should say noon. My times are all off. Once we get to noon tomorrow, everyone's warm enough to just be in the way of rain. But you can see that this is some heavy rain that's coming through in the midday hours tomorrow. So it's going to be a soaking start to our Wednesday, no doubt about it. You can see kind of here, this is where we're thinking in terms of accumulation, a couple inches here and there, at least where the wintry mix can last the longest. And in this pocket, that's where we could also contend with a little bit of icing farther north of that Muskegon, Kent, Ionia County line. To the north of there, that's the best chance. One last thing to show on the ice potential. This is kind of a look at the impacts that could be felt in the way of ice tomorrow. This is the European model that usually has a good handle on things, and kind of showcasing parts of Newaygo into Mecosta County, the Big Rapids area, and north of Fremont, the best opportunity for some icing holding strong. It's always a sweet spot for some freezing rain to last longer than other spots. So that's the first part of Wednesday. Then we got to get into the second part. In the second part, there's a lot of ifs with this second part, but the way I've been putting it is that there's a lot of potential tomorrow in terms of severe weather. I don't want to beat around the bush here. There is a lot of potential for severe weather here in West Michigan tomorrow, late in the day, even into the early nighttime hours. But there's also a fair opportunity. We don't see anything at all in terms of severe weather. Our focus tomorrow will be after 4 in the afternoon. I really probably will shrink this time down to about 6 o'clock in the evening to midnight tomorrow. I think that's going to be the prime 6-hour span that we have the potential for some of these thunderstorms and being on the severe side as well. All modes of severe weather with the ingredients in play tomorrow are possible. So we're talking damaging wind, large hail, tornadoes. They are all possible if severe weather does come to fruition. Obviously, just want to stay weather aware tomorrow. Coming off the heels of Sunday's severe weather event, 9 tornadoes, many other places dealing with straight line winds. Just get through tomorrow. We have a quiet Thursday and Friday, so you want to keep on the forecast there. We won't bother you Thursday or Friday. Here's the 4 ingredients: moisture, lift, instability, and wind shear that we look at. I'm going to start with some of the spots that we see if I can draw on the map here. There we go. We have a lot of, let's start with the bottom. We have a lot of wind shear. I'm going to put 3 check marks here. Wind shear is what makes storms have rotation, or at least allows storms to strengthen and be long lasting. There's a lot of wind shear tomorrow, actually some very impressive amounts. There's a lot of lift tomorrow. It's kind of a bad check mark. Let's do a little bit of our job here. We got that warm front coming nearby. We got a cold front, strong low pressure system to our west. A lot of lift in our atmosphere to get storms going. Here's what's lacking tomorrow, or possibly could lack tomorrow, and that is instability and resultant moisture. Again, tomorrow we have a wintry mix in the morning. We're going to be cold a lot of the day tomorrow. If we can somehow dry out late in the day tomorrow after 3, 4, 5 o'clock, those last few hours before the sun sets, as that warm front tries to nudge northward, we could get some instability here. So this is not as, that's kind of the question here, is how much instability can we go? So right now, we kind of have an X for instability and moisture. But that can change if we are able to see some dry time late in the day, even clear out some of the cloud coverage. Then this can change, and we have a check mark here, and we have a check mark here, and all 4 of our ingredients are completed, and that would allow a really heightened chance for severe weather. So let's talk about what we're expecting, and this is what I mean tomorrow. This is 1 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow. A lot of rain, a lot of clouds. Most of us still in the 40s, maybe a few again towards Kalamazoo, Battle Creek in the lower 50s. That's still not enough for instability and storms to fire up late in the day. Look what kind of happens as we get towards 5, 6 o'clock here. Yeah, still a few showers on the map, but notice south of I-96 here. Notice how the model is trying to clear us out a little bit compared to up north where there's rain, there's maybe some thunder, even on the east side of the state. Notice how this model is trying to clear us out. That's the warm front surging northward late in the day. And if it does so while drying us out, even somewhat, see how down here in Berrien County trying to clear us out a little bit? If that can happen, that's what's going to allow severe weather to be a better possibility. If we hold on to rain at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, there's a lot of clouds, it's only 50 degrees outside, it's not going to be a likelihood we see severe weather, which is what we hope. We don't want to see severe weather. But that's going to be the focus, because then look what happens here at 8 o'clock. This model's taking that sampling of us drying out for a few hours late in the day, and it's allowing those storms to thrive off of the instability. Again, we have a lot of shear in our atmosphere. We got a lot of lift. We got ingredients to play with here, but if we don't have that instability, it won't fire off. But if we do see that instability come in, we warm up into the 60s to near 70 degrees south of Grand Rapids, starts to feel a bit humid outside, yeah, that's what's going to change the tune here tomorrow evening. I also want to note that there's been one kind of change if we do see thunderstorms tomorrow evening. It's been a little bit later in the evening, and again, sunsets around 8 o'clock, and some of these models are trying to put storms in here after dark. That's one thing we got to keep in mind here. We could be, if we did see thunderstorms develop, they could be coming in at dark. So this is what we're watching, this possible line of thunderstorm activity feeding off that increased warmth and moisture and allowing it to sweep through West Michigan and be on the severe side. And then once we get to 10, 11 o'clock, this is all sweeping to the east side of the state. We dry out and then everything's done with. So that's what we're looking at tomorrow in terms of the possibility. It's a boom or bust scenario in the way of severe weather. To have severe weather, it's pretty fickle. Sunday's event is impressive when you look at it in terms of 9 tornadoes, a lot of straight line winds. It's going to be a similar story here on Wednesday, tomorrow. So our thinking right now is that straight line winds are still the major threat here if severe storms happened. Hail, a lesser extent. But tornadoes are definitely a possibility if we did see severe weather come true tomorrow evening, just based on how much shear is available in our atmosphere. A lot of spin is possible tomorrow with the amount of shear present. Another thing, though, whether we see severe weather or not, I do think we need to keep an eye on the potential for some minor flooding tomorrow. We had a fair amount of rain on Monday or Sunday, and with a bunch of rain expected tomorrow morning into the midday hours. If we follow that up with thunderstorms in the evening that provide their own torrential rainfall, we could be seeing some spots 1 to 2 inches of rain tomorrow. And while that doesn't seem like a lot, the ground is kind of saturated as of now. We might see some minor flooding develop, at least spots that are more prone in the low-lying areas. It's not a huge impact I'm expecting, but just in some spots that typically flood a bit easier than others. So again, that is really our focus late tomorrow into the early nighttime hours. of tomorrow evening, where we could see that potential of severe weather. So again, if you're joining this live stream, it's about 9:23 now. We'll be talking for about 20 minutes. We're going to kick off tomorrow with this wintry mix, soggy weather for some. The wintry mix will be mostly north of I-96, a couple inches of snow, upwards of a tenth of an inch of ice. Again, nothing as extreme as northern Michigan, but just enough to be somewhat impactful. The best area for that, if you're, again, just tuning into this live stream, those counties shaded in purple there, we're talking Mason, Oceana, Lake, Newaygo, Mecosta, Montcalm County. It could be a little bit of a tricky morning if you got to head out and about. Nothing that you haven't seen before, but just enough to remind yourself that winter can still happen in early April, and that's the case tomorrow. As we get into the latter half of tomorrow, the focus turns to severe weather, 4 o'clock in the afternoon to around midnight. Again, I said this earlier a couple minutes ago. More specifically, it looks like 6 o'clock in the evening is when we could see the first potential of storms rolling through. All modes of severe weather, doable, but there's still a lot of moving parts here with how much we can clear out and dry out, at least after that morning, early afternoon rain and thunder. The wintry mix as well pushes out of here. How much can we recover our air mass here in West Michigan with that arrival of the warm front? So that's going to be kind of the big question marks tomorrow. And just to kind of put this in a bow here, you can see this timeline here. This is all for tomorrow, midnight to late morning. That's the winter aspect of this forecast, farther north of 96. Late morning into really late afternoon, 4 o'clock's late afternoon. Few showers around, maybe a few thunderstorms, but not severe. I'm not expecting severe weather in the early afternoon. But once you get past 4 o'clock, you start heading towards the end of the evening hours, right around sunset. That's when we're going to have to really focus on any clearing that did take place and possibly allow that chance of severe weather. Again, if it stays cloudy, it stays rainy, drizzly through 5, 6 o'clock, we probably will escape this with nothing, which would be great. But that's what we'll keep close eyes on. And then once we get towards midnight, and especially in the early Thursday morning, we will be on the quiet side, and things will be pretty easy going Thursday and Friday. So that will be what we'll enjoy, that's for sure. Many starting spring break, for example, the kiddos are, and that's the possibility. Just a closer look at satellite and radar here. Some of that precipitation trying to make its way overhead. I doubt any of this is actually reaching the ground right now. If I turn on radar of the Grand Rapids radar, yeah, a lot of this still over the lake, and even that doesn't look like it's reaching the ground. We can kind of tell here based on visibility from the surrounding airports. Let's see if we can get that graphic here. Let's see. Yeah, none of the reporting airports are showcasing any rain or snow. Even back to the west, look at Milwaukee, Sheboygan, Wisconsin, Chicago, all dry. So not reporting any rain or snow. So we're fighting a lot of dry air at the surface right now. That's why it's going to take a long time tonight. It's going to take probably all the way till about 4, 5, 6 in the morning for anything widespread to really be overhead. But in due time, we'll see enough of this swing through this rain-snow mix, and that's what how we'll kick off tomorrow morning. And then obviously the kind of the potential there for stronger storms late in the day. So a little bit all over the place, definitely by far. We'll kind of leave it on one last note. If you're looking for sustained spring weather, you might have to wait a little longer. It does look like we're going to cool down, not the end of this week or this weekend, but next week looks like we're going to be a touch cooler than average. This is the 8 to 14 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. And you can see the eastern side of the country, even the Great Lakes there, somewhat in that shade of blue here. We're kind of on the western edge of it right here. but that would indicate somewhat of a better probability that we'll stay near average, if not even a few degrees below average. Not a major cool down by any means, but I wouldn't expect 70s or anything anytime soon from pretty much now through the 14th of April. The only chance I think we'll have of hitting 70 will be that brief window tomorrow evening if the warm front comes through. But it might take a little bit into mid to late April for anything consistent of spring to come through. Now, having said that, am I seeing any opportunity of accumulating snow on the horizon? Not really. We do have the potential early next week for a few flurries to mix in, but I'm not seeing any major snow. And actually now here in the month of April, we only average 2 more inches of snow here in Grand Rapids, and I believe the number is very similar in Muskegon, and that's it. And then we're done with snow. We don't average any snowfall in the month of May. Yes, have we seen snow in May in Grand Rapids? The history books, yes, there has been that opportunity, but on average, we just don't pick up accumulating snowfall here in the month of May. So we are on basically the last gasp of winter weather by any means these first 2 weeks of April. To accumulate any snow, and then that would be basically it. We're just not seeing that, at least at this point of the forecast. So might take a little longer into mid to late April for anything consistent of spring to arrive, but that too isn't a bad thing per se. I know a lot of the fruit farmers, they'd be happy if we delay that significant warm up a little longer into April to avoid any of those harsh freezes or potential of frost. They like to wait a little longer into April, if not even into early May. That's about it. We're going to leave it there. I think I've been rambling a little bit too much. I can see Billy, our floor director, he's nodding in agreement probably too that I've been rambling on a little bit. It is 9:31 here on this Tuesday evening. Again, the biggest thing tomorrow, a little messy in the morning, especially if you're north of Muskegon and Grand Rapids, you're towards the US 10 area. And then later in the day, really just stay with us on the forecast. Tomorrow evening has a high ceiling in terms of severe weather, but it also has the opportunity to be nothing at the same time. So this is one of those evenings. Stay with us. We're here to help. We're here to keep you informed. And then once we get past tomorrow evening, you don't have to bother with us. Thursday and Friday, things will be very quiet in the way of weather. So that's the good news there once we get past tomorrow. So in the meantime, 9:31 or 9:32 now. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of their night. And then we'll just see how tomorrow shakes out, but just something to be mindful of and be weather aware. All right, for now, I'm meteorologist Blake Hansen. Have a great evening. Have a great night, everyone.
This has been a 13 Weather Impact Alert.